Every time I try to be holy, holy without you, my flesh always fails. With renewed desire now I seek you, Yeshua, you make me well. Your righteousness is my only hope of righteousness at heaven's throne. Yeshua, my bridegroom, my beloved Lord. Yeshua, I love you and I want to love you. Yeshua.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of My Beloved podcast with Braden and Tally Waller. We are diving into a new subject here today. We are going to be going through the Song of Solomon. So this is a subject that we decided to jump into in this season for a couple reasons. One is that we've got Passover coming up. And so this is actually a pertinent song for Passover. This is also we feel like this is a really good song for this season. We have a lot of people who are in distress. The world is going through a shifting right now. We've got a lot of crisis, a lot of fear, uncertainty. There's a lot of unknowns right now as we look at what's happening in the world. And so we want to cast the vision for the bride of the bridal picture because this is something we read about in Revelation, that there's going to be a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations, things that the bride is going to have to go to, and it's all a part of the preparation. And so the important thing is to hold fast to the vision, that there's something big coming, something that's worth all the trials, all the refining, all of the fire that we have to walk through, and we've got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful just, as Tally, you're saying there, just to get a vision for where we're going. Through all the crisis, just realizing we're headed towards something that God actually has planned from the foundation of the world, and that is the bride made ready. Mm-hmm. And, we see that in the Song of Songs. We see at the end of it that the bride says, many waters cannot quench love. Mm-hmm. It's saying that all these trials, the waters represent the trials of life. They cannot quench the love of God. Mm-hmm. And we see that in Revelation, as you've said, basically by seeing where we're going, full maturity, mm-hmm. maturity in love, it helps us go through the trials that we go through in the now.
Yep.
And so, yes, last podcast we did was about overcoming fear, and we mentioned there that it's the perfect love of God that drives out fear. Mm-hmm. It casts out fear. And so this song of all books of the Bible is a book about the love of God. Uh-huh. And we want to just unpack this over the coming weeks and look at it verse by verse and talk about how in the parable language of the Song of Solomon, it's speaking of the depth of God's love. And God speaks in poetry to us to help unlock our hearts. And so we're going to be getting into this. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think even Yeshua, when it's talking about him being on the cross, on the tree as he's dying, he said that he was able to endure because of the joy that was before him, right?
Right.
And so this is something that we have to, that he's calling us to as well, is to endure because of the joy that is before us. And so that's the thing that we have to keep our eyes on, is just keep looking forward to the big wedding day. It's going to be great. And this is also really fun for us too, because our anniversary actually is coming up here in just a few days. We got betrothed in January, and then our wedding day was just a couple days before Passover at Family Week 11 years ago. It's pretty hard to believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
11 years ago, 6 children later.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is really a special thing. And this has also been a really big theme in our marriage. It was the first book of the Bible that we read after we got married, and it was a big theme. We actually have melodies written to most of this book, which is a project that is yet to come, that we'll see when that happens. But but we love this book, and it's really spoken to both of us quite a bit. And
yeah,
so,
I would just add that, a lot of the foundations of even the Betrothed movie, the Betrothed book, a lot of it has its foundation in the revelation of God's love expressed through the Song of Songs. And so God really spoke to me. I'll get into that a little later, earlier on. But yeah, just looking forward to getting back into this and really meditating on it in this season.
Yeah, so we hope to make people less scared of this book as we go into this.
Right.
I think that's kind of what we've run into over the years, is that people don't really like talking about this. Some people don't really like talking about this book, and we can see that side of it to a certain extent.
Even within the Jewish community, they've been studying this book for centuries, but some streams in the Jewish community choose not to focus on this book much until you reach marriage. Other streams, for example, the Sephardic Jewish people, which represents a large percentage of the Jewish community, they actually sing through this song every Saturday, every Shabbat. And so there's different approaches even within the Jewish community of just how they approach it. And so respect different approaches out there, but our main approach in this is going to be to help believers understand the love of Yeshua as the bridegroom. And because this is basically the song, it all focuses on the bridegroom's love for the bride and the bride's love for the bridegroom.
Yeah.
And so just understanding that to a deeper extent is what our hope is through this series.
Yeah, and also I feel like it really tells the story of the bride too, which I think is really important for us to have that in our hearts, to understand the story of the bride in going through this whole process of falling in love, understanding her bridegroom more, all the things that come within that relationship of growing close to her bridegroom. And so I think that's a big part of it as well. So today what we're going to do is do kind of a basic overview, and we might get into chapter 1. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But we're basically going to just give kind of an overview of the Song of Solomon and what that all looks like and what we're going to be digging into.
Yes, so to open up here, the Song of Solomon in Hebrew is Shir HaShirim, which the literal translation of that would be Song the Songs. So or Song of Songs. So we know that Solomon wrote 1,005 songs. He was a pretty prolific songwriter, 1,005 songs. But this one is the best. It's the Shir HaShirim, the song of all songs. And so he wrote 1,005 songs. This is the best one. And so just to have that in mind, it's the ultimate song. And you also have in Scripture where it has the King of Kings. The Scriptures will say Melech HaMlachim, which is translated in English, the King of Kings, or Adon HaAdonim, Lord of Lords, or Kadosh HaKadoshim, Holy of Holies. And so this is a reoccurring thing in Scripture where when it's said that way, it's like the highest. The King of Kings is like the King of all kings, the Lord of Lords, the Lord of all lords, the Holy of Holies is the most holy place. So the Song of Songs is the song of all songs. It's the highest song. And so it's the highest song because it's a song of love, and God's love is, he is love. Love is the greatest. We have 1 Corinthians 13, love is the greatest. This song about love is the heart of God. It's the very heartbeat of God. Yeah,
I've even heard it that there's even a relationship there that kind of compares the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs, to the Holy of Holies. Just like that's how big, how deep it is. It's like you go deeper and deeper into the temple, into the outer, from the outer courts and you get to the Holy of Holies. That's like the heart. That's like, whoa, this is it, the presence of God. And so the Song of Songs is kind of described in that way as well, that this is like intimacy with God. This is one-on-one. This is me and you, no one else, because, with the Holy of Holies, there was only the priest, that could go in, and it was this one-on-one in the presence of God. And so I think that's what the Song of Songs is about experiencing an intimacy with God, an intimacy with the presence of God in a very, very holy way.
Yeah, and the Jewish thought, the three books that Solomon wrote, Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, Song of Songs, are seen in context of like what Tally's saying. Proverbs would have been in relation to the outer court, just the way that we direct our affairs, our human affairs, the way we
how to walk wisely.
How do we walk wisely, business, family, this kind of things. So Proverbs gives us a lot of wisdom on just how to relate to our neighbors, our outside world. And so then Ecclesiastes in the Jewish thought actually relates to the inner court, which is meant to awaken a desire within us to go into the most holy place. Because Ecclesiastes, you read that, you can be kind of depressed. You can be like, oh man, what's the point of living? Solomon, but really Ecclesiastes is pointing out what's the word? The vanity. The word that's repeated over and over against Ecclesiastes is vanity. It's just pointing out the vanity of life apart from love of God, apart from the intimacy with God. So it kind of wants to create this tension in the inner court to go all the way in pursuit of God, to come all the way into his presence. Because you get done reading Ecclesiastes, you go, okay, what's this all about?
Right.
But then it leads you on to Song of Songs, which is the heartbeat. When you're in the Holy of Holies, then life makes sense. Your heartbeat is for God, and you all of a sudden realize this is why I'm alive. This is what I exist for, is to commune with God, to be one that walks with him. So those three books, they parallel, and that's just a Jewish understanding of those three different books.
You can see that too, because you look at Proverbs and everything seems very like logical, kind of like if you do this, then this happens, this kind of a thing. And it seems like, well, if I just follow these rules in relationships, in my affairs, in my ruling, whatever it is, then I should be blessed. I should be able to walk in the blessing all the time, and so it's kind of this, this like the outer courts, like I'm thinking like everything's very logical and stuff like that. And then you get to the inner courts where it's like things don't always work out the way that you expected them. Relationships don't always, and then you've got Ecclesiastes, where you run into this kind of dilemma.
Angst a little bit.
Yeah. Because you're like, okay, I'm doing everything I was supposed to do. Like things should be working out for me. Like things should be.
And the American dream even. Ecclesiastes talks about the American dream. You've got everything you want. There's nothing lacking, but still it's all vanity. Like what's the use?
Right, exactly. And so, so you run into this like dilemma of, okay, this isn't it. And that's what draws us into the Holy of Holies, into, pursuing, understanding the heart of God. And that's what he's calling us to. That's what he's calling to us to as a bride that's getting closer and closer to a wedding. This is something that we need to really grab a hold of as we get closer to the wedding. Yeah.
Yes. So as we mentioned earlier, this song is traditionally sung during Passover. So there's certain books of the Bible that are read throughout the year, in connection with certain feasts. Certain of God's feasts throughout the year. And so Song of Solomon is connected to Passover. And as we mentioned as well, this is the time that Yeshua expressed his love for us. He laid down his life. He became the Passover lamb. It says in John, by this we know love, that he laid down his life for us. And so this song is talking about that kind of love, that depth of love that he has. And so we're going to get into that, but it's this sacrificial love that he has for his bride. That he lays down his life. Okay, so question, why study this song? As I mentioned, it reveals the depth of God's perfect love. It's a poetry, in poetry, it kind of goes beyond, as we mentioned with Proverbs, just like facts, like this equals this equals this equals this. It's more of, it's aiming for the emotions. Poetry is not something you go to study math or science. It's speaking more to the emotions. If I want to communicate to the depth of Tally's heart, I write her a poem. I don't give her a math equation. I write her a poem. And so this is, in this poetry of the Song of Songs, that the purpose of God's heart is to unlock us, to really cause us to come to him with a open heart to receive. And so it's this, the brilliance of God, you could say, is that he gives us a poem. He gives us this poetic reenactment, in a way, of this human story to help us understand his love for us. Yeah. He speaks to us through human language. He says marriage, he creates marriage, and it says the way that a husband loves his wife, if he's loving her the way he's supposed to, that's the way I love my people. And so the Song of Songs unpacks that. He unpacks this ravish love that this bridegroom has for the Shulamite, and he says, that's the way I love you. You know, that it's in that level of extravagance that I love you. And when you get into the Song of Songs, you know, it's not uncommon in the body of Messiah for people to go around feeling condemned, like they don't measure up. And so this song is a great song to study, and to really, I encourage you more than study, to actually engage with, to actually allow some of the language of the Song of Songs to get into your prayer life. And as we go through this, I want it to be more than just a mental study, just get learning the truths of the Song of Songs, but actually to engage with it, to say, oh, I want to enter into that place of intimacy with God. I want to really walk with him in this close way, like a bride in love with her bridegroom. So that's the heart behind this whole song. Yeah,
and I think it shows like the emotional capacity of God as well, you know, because you've got God created us to be emotional and to respond emotionally. And I think that you write a song for someone, that's an emotional outpouring, you know, like when you write poetry or something, you know, this is an emotional outflow of the heart. This isn't just I'm supposed to love you and, you know, just be confident in my love. And, you know, this is like an emotional draw that he has towards us, and he's desiring that same emotional draw from us as well. And so it's really beautiful. And I do have to say, like, with, you know, when Braden and I were working on this song, as far as putting melody and stuff to it, it was a really impactful season for me, really, as singing through the words of this book. It was really impactful for me. And so I think that's a part of it, you know, just recognizing that this is an emotional, you know, let's approach this as an emotional, you know, this is something that we want to understand the heart of it, you know, and not, you know, like Braden said, just not being all brainy about it and just learning the facts about it, you know, but understanding the emotional capacity there.
Yes, and I believe understanding also that, you know, the song, when you begin to study it, you realize that the first 4 chapters are primarily focused on what we receive from God, what we receive from the sacrifice of Yeshua. It talks about the bride, you know, just sitting down under the apple tree, receiving from God, not really doing anything. You know, she's just sitting down. She's sitting down, but she receives the love of God. And then later on, interesting, it comments on that later on in the song. It says, it was under the apple tree that I awakened you. It was in that place where you weren't, you know, striving. You just sat down and received from me. That's where I awakened you. So there's a place of spiritual awakening that happens when we just receive from God. And so the first 4 chapters of the 8 chapters of Song of Songs primarily focuses on what we receive. And that's a beautiful thing. We don't want to get stuck there, though. We don't want to just, you know, have just a taking relationship with God. So it brings us on into maturity, into that second half, which is what he gets from us. It's not just a one-way receiving. He actually receives something from us. He receives worship. He receives love. And so it's this two-way thing. But if you try to go into the second half without establishing the first half, then your heart just kind of withers up. You know, you think, okay, well, God, you know, why do I have to serve God? You know, what's the point of it?
Why am I doing all this?
Why am I making such sacrifices? But when you're grounded in the first 4 chapters, when you're grounded in the reality that he has given so much to you, then it only makes sense. The next 4 chapters only make sense. The last 4 chapters totally make sense. Okay, well, that's what I want to do. I want to give my all for God. You know, it's like that song says, this is no sacrifice. Here's my life. You know, so you want to give it all once you're grounded in the first 4 chapters of realizing how much he's done for you. So that's just it's just a point to realize as we're studying it, is that, yes, it's about the emotions. We want to experience the emotional love that God has for us. And then as we do, we respond with the emotion of love back to him.
Right.
So going on here, love and purity. Now this is the heart of what we what our ministry is about. We want to see people grow in love, and we want to see people embrace a lifestyle of purity. And so I believe they're directly related. You know, as we grow in love for God, then living a pure lifestyle, as I mentioned, it's like a no sacrifice. It's like, I see all that God's done for me, the way that he loves me. I want to live pure and holy for him. Mm-hmm. And so just, you know, understanding that, you know, purity is sometimes approached like, okay, you just got to clench your teeth and do it. You know, don't partake of all the fun the world's having because you got to be pure. No, I love God so much. He's shown me, he has just ravished my heart with his love that I want to live for him. I want to live a set apart life for him. He has won my heart, really. Mm-hmm. It's more of an emotional response at that level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also unwavering because you're grounded in the love of God instead of in, you know, what people around you are doing or what other people are think or what, you know, it's not as connected to this, the relationships, these human relationships. When we decide to walk in purity, that's when we know we're in it for the long haul, is when we know we're doing it out of a overflowing heart that we love our bridegroom. And that's the point. That's the point of walking in this way, is because we understand his love for us, what he's given us, and we want to give back to him and walk pleasing to him as well.
Yes. I believe this song really strengthens us in the pursuit of the first commandment. You know, God said there's one commandment that is the first, it's the highest of all, it's to love God. Mm-hmm. And Yeshua, I love it. He says this is the first and great commandment. He puts both of those. It's the first one and it's also the great one. It's like, wow, it's a great commandment because God invites us to have a love relationship with him. It sets us apart from Islam. Mm-hmm. Islam, you know, that's not the point, is to have a loving relationship with God. Mm-hmm. But God, it's a great commandment because it's awe-inspiring, that God desires that would be the first thing that we give ourselves to. God's not so much interested in as far as priority goes in what we can get done. Mm-hmm. He is interested in us serving and getting things done, but it's not his first priority. Mm-hmm. His first priority is love me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you live a lifestyle of loving him first, then it helps you to actually serve your community, serve others. But yeah, this song is about getting that priority straight of love God first, and then everything else flows out of that.
Mm-hmm. Even the second commandment.
Yes.
Loving others.
Yes. So just a few more points as we are trying to just give a basic overview. Historically, this is the second most popular book to write commentary on. You know, as people over the years have written commentaries on the Bible, Song of Solomon has taken second place only to the book of Romans. So this is a very much studied book over church history and also the Jewish people's history. This is a very much studied book, and it deserves a place in our attention as well. Mm-hmm. And I just want to mention, as we get going on this series, a lot of what I've learned on the Song of Solomon has actually come from Mike Bickle. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with his ministry, but he started studying it back in the 80s and really gave himself, he basically acquired every commentary he could get his hands on, just began to study it in a very intense way. And so I've gleaned a lot from his studies, and I really appreciate the time that he's put into it. And I just want to share a dream that I actually had. This has been when I was about 19, 20, I'm thinking. But I was just beginning to study the Song of Songs, and God was really awakening my heart to the depth of his love. And I had this dream of Mike Bickle and I were walking over what looked like just this warehouse type of building, a lot of stuff, but it basically had just been upended, just totally destroyed. What it spoke to me was civilization, just the world as we knew it, had basically just been just frayed out, like just totally turned upside down. But Mike Bickle and I were walking over the top of this, and that was just really short. It was just a short little dream. And then right after that, I saw a clock, and it was turning towards midnight. And what it spoke to me is that the revelation that God has given Mike Bickle about the Song of Songs, you know, having the first commandment be, you know, restoring that first commandment to a first place position, is what's going to help the people of God walk through the coming days. We don't know exactly, you know, how things are going to look even for this next year. We don't know exactly how it's all going to play out, but getting grounded in love is going to help us to overcome the trials that are ahead. Mm-hmm. And so it spoke to me that, yes, we're going to walk through it as the believers in the body, and it is preparing us for the last hour, for that clock striking midnight when the bridegroom comes. And so our prayer as we go through this study is to encourage you. You know, there's a lot of studies you can, I encourage you to study it from other people as well. But our hearts are just to encourage you out there that have been listening, that you'll be strengthened in love as you listen to this podcast about the Song of Songs. So my own life was greatly strengthened. I can remember just the appeal of the world just kind of lessening on me, the temptations of the world. Like there's just so many temptations that bombard young people in our society today. But I can remember as I studied the Song of Songs and just started really opening my heart to the extravagant love of God, those temptations really began to wane. It just really started losing a grip on me. And I began to desire from just the inmost part of my being to live for God. And so love has a very powerful awakening factor to it. When you love someone emotionally, and, emotions can wane. We don't want to say this is all based on emotion, but when that emotional factor is in place, when you actually feel love for God, which I believe is something that can be cultivated, when you feel love for God, then it helps you emote, because the tug of the world is an emotional pull. It's trying to pull on your emotions. But when you already have that emotional anchor in God's love, then you're much less prone to want what the world has to offer.
Right.
Especially when you realize how much superior the love that God offers you is. Once you're convinced deep inside your heart that what God has to offer is so much better than anything the world gives, then you're just basically you're much more what's the word I'm looking for? You're much more grounded. You're almost like an impregnable fortress. Like you've got this fortress that the righteous run into the fortress of God, the name of God, there, and they're safe. And so that's where we want to be found, is in these trying times of so much going on. We want to be found in that fortress. Not just venturing out and getting caught up in the temptations of the enemy, but being grounded in love and strong in that.
Yeah, it's a maturing of love, and I can say that even in Braden and I's relationship, at this point, 11 years into it, there's a lot of emotions that happen when you first get married, and it's a very emotional time, but there's a beauty to the maturing of love, and so I think that now 11 years of marriage, there's a maturity of love that is very stable. It's very grounded. It grows stronger each day. Each day we continue to be faithful and to love each other and to lay down our lives for each other. There's a maturity that comes to that love, and so it's very similar in our relationship with God. Yes, there are emotional ups and downs. And I would say, in Braden and I's relationships, it's not like we aren't emotional with each other anymore. Like we still have those. We're very, very much. It's still a very emotional relationship that we have, but there's a groundedness to it, and that's the maturity of love, and that's what we want to. That's what we want to pursue in our relationship with God, that it is emotional. We are emotionally affected by this relationship, but it's grounded. It's a mature love that it's unwavering, even as the emotions can wane at times. Yeah.
Yeah. So in closing, just to point that out, the Song of Songs has been interpreted as the human relationship of marriage, romance, and that is more of a recent development within the body of Messiah. So the primary way that it's been interpreted throughout the centuries is God's love for his people, both Jewish and Christian. So up until about the 1900s, that's the primary way it was interpreted. After that, people began to interpret it more on just the human, husband and wife relationship, which I believe that has an application. But what we're primarily going to be focusing on in this series is God's love for his people, because I believe that's so powerful to just wrap our hearts around, is that he loves us so deeply, and that the marriage relationship is a picture of that for sure. But just as we study the poetry of this, we're going to be primarily focusing on God's passionate love for us.
Yes. So we're excited, and we'll go for now, and we'll pick up next week. This is Braden and Tally reminding you to listen to the voice of your beloved bridegroom. He is coming quickly.
Yeshua, my bridegroom, my beloved Lord. Yeshua.